I'll be the weather. That's right, Bob.
We are live now, boys, on the show of Animal Expedition Files.
I'm scared.
Welcome, everybody, to the Animal Expedition Files. I am your host, The Animal, and I have the Wojo and Richie the Bee Banter the Anter.
What the hell? All right, we're done. That's right, Bob.
That's right, Bob. So what's up, guys? How's it going?
Oh, it's so rainy and wet, but going good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about our Squatch hunt. You know,
you want to get right into that?
let's get into that because the experiences out there, especially the whole talking back and forth with the Squatches, was pretty amazing.
Which one?
The one last night. Yeah, I know. There was too many.
One?
Oh my God. Yeah. So last night, have you talked about it at all on your show since we met? It happened
A little bit.
I'm gonna figure out how to talk again. I'm so saturated with water and cold.
Yeah.
That it's really hard to get my jaws and brain to connect.
Yeah.
Which is very unusual for me. Yeah, that was wild last night, dude. And I said the best thing about it was there was like 3 or 4 sets of teams that came together and were tracking the same thing, but didn't know it until we met. That's what was crazy about that.
Yeah, I thought it was a great game plan by Richard B. The game plan is just to be at this pit, and we'll have our friend Ernie Davio play the Native American flute, and our job is to be outside the wood line and see and hear what's going on, and then things just,
started happening. So we had Ernie on the truck in the middle of a circle. It's like a pit, and there's like a sand pit, right? And they store like stone dust and things like that there, but it's almost a circle. Maybe not exact, but it's a circle. So I figured if we put him in the middle, had him play the old flute, which he did very well.
Very well.
Yeah, it was really good.
Wasn't it really good?
Yeah, it was. I could hear him from all the way from the tent because you guys left before me.
Yeah.
And I could hear him literally. You could know where he was.
It was awesome.
Oh,
So then I figured if we took like teams of people and put them around the circle, and then you would have it, if you had activity over here, over here, over here, over here. And of course, I can't stay on dirt. I have to get drawn into the woods. I can't help it. I'm like, we're going to stay here and listen. 2 seconds later, I'm 50 feet into the woods. And right in front of me and Stan, Gene Tewksbury's husband, who doesn't really Bigfoot. I think that was probably his first time. And I know I'm just looking over there, so I get everybody.
I thought he was there.
And I froze and I go, whoa. And he goes, I heard that. And I said, okay. I said, because I knew whatever it was big and it was 30 to 40 yards in front of us, close. We kind of interrupted him.
Yeah.
And you could hear it moving. And it was moving side to side. And you hear little breaks. Then you hear like you hear the little breaks, but the big branches moving out of its way. And you could tell it's mass, right? And that kept happening. And then I would look over at him, Stan, and I would just watch his face. So when I heard something, I knew which direction it was in, but then you'd see his head go like this. So I was validating through him without saying it out loud that we were hearing the same thing. And then as we kept going, I was tracking it. We were tracking it. It was moving. And he kind of dropped off, stayed back a little bit, and then Denny O'Donnell was with us. And he kind of met me into the woods a little further up this path. And then I was doing the same thing with him. And you could see his head snap. And then I'd be like, all right, he's onto it too. So he was hearing it. And then as we went further up the path, now Stan's back here, Denny O'Donnell and I kept moving forward. And I would yell, hey, moving up. Wojo and Gene Tewksbury are above us on the circle, which is up higher, it's elevated. And they had the heat signatures going. And you were seeing heat signatures.
Yeah, right? What was cool was that first of all, it's a great team effort. And it was great to see one of our fans, Denny O'Donnell, being part of this investigation.
I know, that was so
cool.
And
I could hear you guys down. We're up on a hill. I think it was like a good 20-foot drop, maybe a little bit, further. And I figured that our job was to let you communicate down below on the ground with you and the animal and the rest of the gang, and and we're just doing the thermal, and then all of a sudden we picked up a heat signature. And then after a few minutes, we lost that signature, but then it came back again. So it was going back and forth.
But real quick, let me jump in because right there is important because when he's saying that to you,
Yeah.
me and Denny are having the same conversation about how it went away and it stopped moving. We couldn't hear it no more.
Mm-hmm.
And it was coinciding with him, but wasn't after until we all met up that we discovered that. So
Right.
that's just a cool little tidbit.
Yeah, because as we're watching this one signature, another one appeared. And when you look at the signature, one was higher than the other. And then we lost both of them as you guys moved
Forward.
continued towards them. Then the taller signature appeared again, and it just seemed like it was going back and forth behind some sort of tree from a distance.
Right. And that's when it was just one.
Yeah.
Because so what happened in the woods at that time, which he doesn't know because he wasn't there. He's up on the hill with the fleur looking over us. One broke off and went to the right, like away from us into the woods. The other one, which I assumed was the bigger one that we were hearing, got the size, you can tell a difference, was up in front of us still. So I feel like he was trying to pull us away from the little guy and send the little guy off.
Right.
I went over with a flashlight when the little guy moved towards him to flash him. And for like 3 minutes, there was no movement. As soon as I went to the right, big guy moved again as if to get my attention because he knew I was looking towards probably his child, maybe. So then I snapped back around. Then you picked him back up.
Yeah, because it was tough to communicate.
We had no radios.
We always have radios, but
Wojo told me not to bring mine, that we wouldn't need them.
Thanks for writing me out, Rich. I really appreciate it.
For you.
Yeah. but the cool thing was is that we were texting each other, and to say, hey, it's backing up. We got it back on the thermal, but as you guys kept moving, it just kept like shifting a little bit towards to the left. So where you guys were, I'm going to say approximately like 40 yards away from the signature.
That's how close we were to it.
Yeah.
But we couldn't see it. They could.
Well, because me and Gene, Mean Gene.
Yeah.
That's right, Mean Gene.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, brother.
You know it. With these 24-inch pythons, we come down on you. But anyways, what was cool is to look down and see you guys with the spotlights, and we just kept shining our thermals at where you guys are, but then like you guys are like dots, and then this thing is like looks taller, but it's not that far away, but it just kept going back and forth, and then that's when you guys decided to break off, and then take it from there, Rich.
Oh God, it got crazy. No, Matt was there.
Yeah. Our friend Matt Moniz was with Ernie Davio playing the Ernie was playing the Native American flute, and they were watching. Oh, is that Gene in the stand?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mean Gene made a machine. Joe Blow made it go. Had a fire, blew it apart. Sorry, I didn't. Did I say that, Richard?
Did you see that live?
So, again, I thought it was a great game plan on you have guys in the low side. Matt and Ernie are watching from behind us.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and it worked out well that we're just watching on the thermal.
Yeah.
And you kept hearing, you guys heard some tree knocks too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sorry, I have parental duties.
Yeah. So, and I thought Jean said that she thought she heard a knock.
Excuse me. Step away again.
Yeah. So, so after we were done, we decided to regroup back in my truck, and we all tried to process on what was going on. And I thought the cool thing was then we heard the owl mimicking. Now I'm right beside you, and you're like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
Now, have you ever heard owls mimic, or you ever heard?
I've heard owls. Yeah.
You hear the bonnet owls just, but it just kept having a strange hook at the end.
Yeah.
And it's good that, Rich took the initiative on trying to communicate, because we know we hear them down in our area, down southeast from Massachusetts. in the Bridgewater Triangle, but it's always got a hook at the end. Woo, 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 you know.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then as he tried to mimic them, it would mimic back at Rich, and then he tried to change it up, and then it seems like they struggled at one point to try to change it up, or they won't respond. But then all of a sudden, you heard another one to the far left, and like I said, the group was like, pretty like it's like an intense moment of the sounds that they were making. I never heard. At one point, you hear the hoo, and then it sounded like a wrestling match going on here, like at the end, and I couldn't explain that. But I'll tell you, it was cool. And then we saw some. What did you see, Animal?
The one weird thing that I experienced there, well, of course, the noise is going back and forth and hearing whoops in the middle. If you hear it like real closely, like me and Ernie were listening to the actual recordings like for an hour and a half till I don't know, like 2 in the morning, and you could hear whoop right in the middle of each of those conversations,
Right.
and a little like weird like chatter. And the cool part about that, and you saw it too, that I pointed out, there was a creature going back and forth right in front of us.
Yep.
And with red eyes. And it just kept moving. Then it got closer. And every time it got closer, literally you could feel the energy coming off whatever it was, aka Bigfoot. You know, it was pretty interesting just being able to see that. It's something you just don't forget.
The interesting part is people will say, well, it could be someone's outside light, what have you. But who would have a red outside light?
Yep.
And it was distinctively red.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm with Matt Moniz here, and we kind of like walked away from the group for a little bit just to get a closer look. And you move off to the side. You kind of move with them, side to side. But also, too, we noticed there was another set of eyes very low to the ground. And at the same time, a shadow moved because there is a little light, and you can see like the shadow of the trees, but this body or something just came across. I'm like, what was that? We both saw it at the same time, and I just looked at it. Man, now you looked at me, and I was like, did I see a shadow? He goes, yeah, it just got up a move. But there is
Yeah.
still another set of eyes very, very low to the ground. Because I know we had some flashlights going on and what have you, and we don't shine on them. That's a number one rule.
Yeah.
But it was it was great to hear everyone's perception of what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and for some newer people, which is even more fresh to hear, and that's important to us is their experience and their perception on what they experience.
Well, even Jean was saying she's never really experienced anything like that.
No.
Just the conversation of two just amazing creatures, that they are, and they're having a conversation. And it's like you kind of wonder, what are they saying? Are they saying, well, that guy's a little big over there. He has too many toes. You don't know what they're saying, but what if they're like making fun of us and we just don't know it, and they're just like, they can't see us.
Or just, be patient.
Yeah.
They'll go away, meaning us. And
Yeah.
for everyone out there, there's also dumpsters. There's a set of dumpsters that's about 100 yards away. And at night, they tend to trash pick.
Yep.
We found some prints earlier in the day. Looks like from the direction from the dumpsters and what have you, and then in that pit itself during the day, we saw them. Well, we didn't see them, but we saw prints, feet in the stone dust.
Juveniles,
and there was
a bigger one behind,
a much bigger one. So it kind of validates, hey, this is like their territory, and you know what? We probably stumbled upon their time to, hey, I want to grab something.
Well, didn't Ernie say he saw something from the distance when he was standing with you guys
Yes.
over there, just walking?
Yeah, so we're our podcast area is across from you, and we have a farmer's porch, and we're talking, and Ernie said, "Geez, I don't know if I saw a car go by, and I see the car go by, and then Ernie goes, "Hey, I just saw something. Is that a black bear? They just came out of nowhere and went the opposite direction and went across into the woods." And so that's when I did, a whoop, and then Richie just did a quick whoop right after me, and then he heard a tree knock from a distance, and that's when
Yeah.
we just we jumped right out and you know hustled towards the sound, and that's when we started investigating the we saw those small prints
Yeah.
before the road, and then we crossed it going in the woods, seeing double 90 breaks, arches, all these tree structures that what they do is manipulate Mother Nature, which
Hmm.
is, I mean, it was just like fantastic. But again, in a complete different area, we're seeing, the um, same actions that they do down where we are, and I'm
Yeah.
sure down in Florida.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now the one thing that was very intriguing to me is I like this is my first time investigating with you.
Yep.
I watch you guys all the time on live, especially, but it's a totally different feeling because I never seen someone do kind of like the way you guys do calls. It's different, and I never heard anything like that. Why do you guys is in a way it's unique, and is it more like of a native language that you guys are trying to talk to them in?
So, what Animal's saying is, well, we have audio of three possible Bigfoots communicating. That we have that audio and sent it to a linguistics specialist, and he came back with the results of high probability of the Sierra Sounds. So one day we went on an investigation down in the Bridgewater Triangle. I said, "Hey, I'll go ha, you go blah blah," and that's exactly how they sounded. And because we're hearing movement on left and right side of the path that we're at, so I'll go huh, and Richie will go blah blah. So now here we're trying to. Oh, by the way, their response was a double tap,
Yeah.
and then on the other side, 20 seconds later, double tap.
Wow.
I mean that quick.
Yeah.
And we kept going back and forth doing the same things. It was just amazing. So we're figuring that before we do that, we say hi, Satanya, aho,
Yeah, joining you.
yeah, and and saying the Native American language is greetings. So me and Richie thought we can do that here, and um, and you heard a tree knock and
Oh,
the
originally.
blah blah. No, we talked after that.
Oh, yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
just saying because he's animals intrigued about the language that they speak, and we try to copy.
Well,
them.
yeah, yes, we have a recording of what was
Yep.
deemed a vocalization language with, speaking
Right.
by an expert. So we just try to repeat what they say. So we know what we have on our recorder, what they say. We forwarded that through the vocals to a linguist, and the linguist deemed it, like I said, language and vocalization. So meaning that it took, a trachea to say it, right? So we just repeat it. So Wojo will do the huh, and I'll go blap blap because that's what we hear on the recording. The other stuff through the Native Americans, through the elder medicine bear claw, she has taught us things to say in Blackfoot, basically to this Satanya.
Yep.
Different words. She actually has recordings that she's given me that we're going to put on speaker of her talking to them.
Wow.
So we're going to hold it up like a blast call.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all Native American tongue, and we're going to blast it through the forest. So we're trying different things like that, and we're just trying to show them respect, right? The respect that the Native Americans had for them, and the same respect that we want to give them as well. So, and last night was a good twist.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they started going off, and it was weird because every once in a while I always hear barred owl. And it's funny because the barred owl sounds, if you sit there and listen to them on recording, on like say Google and stuff like that, and they have all these different apps and stuff, you can listen to the different birds, and they're real birds. They're not digital or anything. And you can listen to what we heard in the woods last night. The difference is lung size and trachea size compared to what a barred owl has.
Mhm.
Clearly the lungs are small, the trachea is thinner, skinnier, right? So when you hear that, it's more of a guttural echo, so to speak, right? It's, you always have that little drag. So you try to do a barred owl. Anytime they mimic, if they're trying to mimic a certain thing, if you listen real close, you can almost tell the trachea size. You can't fake that.
No.
You can't pretend. You know, the whistling could be different because the lips or whatever, but the trachea you can't replicate that.
But also too, the key
Size matters, Wojo.
That's right, Bob.
That's right.
Jim. We got a big old trachea over here. Back to you, animal.
But animal, the thing you heard, and we, I was whispering to you to say, is that at the end it's like a hook. Yes, animal. I love you.
I love you too.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Why is your pants?
Did you
down
tell us
there?
what?
Why are we whispering?
What you said to him while whispering?
What's that?
What were you saying to him about whispering?
So
Like real enactment. Ready? Go ahead. This is animal.
animal, just pay attention.
Did you say just pay
I said,
attention?
listen at the very end.
Sorry, I
At the
got
very end of
ADD.
this- Just pay attention. But at the very end, it's a hook at the end. Woo, 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 like that. Now
different.
It's different.
Yeah.
And this is why when we do
Then they
the,
started going nuts though.
yeah, so we start
Yeah.
going ha blah blah. That's why when you have total silence on our end, when you're recording, you'd be surprised to hear some sort of a soft knock at the end that we can't, we not picking
Not
up,
hearing them while we're out there.
but it's there because it's close by.
Yeah. Yep. What do you got for comments?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Sam.
Hi,
Sam and Brandy.
I know
Yeah.
Sam.
Ghost
She's a
Girl.
producer of an amazing podcast.
Oh yeah.
That's right, Sam.
Oh, we got ladies' night now. That's
We
what
got
I'm talking about.
ladies' night. And the feeling's right. It's ladies' night.
Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night.
Hey, you should have your own boy band.
We should have our own podcast. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
No, but it was
Pants
absolutely
off
wild.
podcast.
At one point during that shenanigan that was happening, that almost sounded like they were fighting, right?
Yep.
It was like, and it almost came out like it was two monkeys in the zoo when you go there and they're getting a little rambunctious with each other, right? They went off script. Yeah. They were like, woo, 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 woo. I'm like, what the? That ain't a bottle. You screwed up again. That was horrible.
But the greatest thing is during the height of Rich. It's great. Listen, it's great to watch Richie because now it's like, all right, it's on.
Yeah.
It's a handicap match. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now Richie switched it up
I did.
while you're peeing and go ah, like that, and all of a sudden during the height as they were like mimicking, they stopped. They didn't know how to respond to what the hell he just said. And
I've played this game before. In the woods.
exactly, it's called. Hey, you want to play head games? We'll play head games.
Yeah.
So there was a long delay, maybe what
10
6
minutes?
minutes?
That's about close to 10 minutes.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden picked right back up like woo woo woo. I'm
was
like,
wild.
it's back on.
It was wild. Then you guys had that little session because I did see a black mask cover up the lighting on that side. I wasn't seeing what you guys were seeing there. Could be my height because there was a hill there. But I was trying to jump up on Wojo's back, but he wouldn't stop it. There's people here. You know what I mean?
No, because I had Matt on
It wasn't
my
a
back.
flashlight, was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a flashlight he was feeling.
Flabbergasted by the chatter. That caught my attention.
Yeah.
Right after it went from the owl into a chatter back and forth.
That's a
There
good
was
point.
Definitely two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. So here's the other thing is me and Denny were still on the path in the woods. And I'm sitting there, we're looking into this opening. You could tell there a log stack. And I said to him, we're not going over there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
know
knew
what
right
you're
then and
talking
there
about.
we would take a left and do not enter that area. And I said, we're not going there. And I stop and I go, we're sitting there listening. I go, just listen for a minute. And then I go, dude, was that chatter? And he goes, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, I heard talking. I heard chatter. So I come back up and I didn't know anything of you guys, you and Ernie sitting at the truck. You could hear the chatter. And it was off diagonal to my left. And
It
you
was off to
You guys who told me you
Yeah.
pointed right where I heard
Right,
it.
right.
And I'm like, dude, I heard that. And Ernie goes, damn, you got good ears. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I hear everything out there.
And Ernie took off like, which
Yeah,
was
we were
great.
like, where did he go?
Yeah.
What did
Th-
But it was
That's
great
where
that
you were.
You both heard that.
I thought Wandering Man kicked in. He was
We're
just
covering
gone.
all angles. That's,
I thought he got
that's the great
kidnapped
thing.
by UFO or something.
Oh my God. I thought
Could you
Denny was try-
imagine?
I thought Denny was trying to like, what?
I said, I probably know the driver.
Oh my God. Yeah, be careful with the UFO around him.
He knows.
He knows not people.
He knows not people. We're trying to talk to you about some UFO stuff. So
Yeah, well, we're the guests right now.
Yeah.
well, yeah, after.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to talk about.
Oh no knives, no knives. We got a blacksmith here. He's threatening me. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Look at
wise.
it, look at it.
That is pretty.
That's what I showed earlier.
That is nice. We have a real American veteran here, and
Who's talking?
he's now a blacksmith, right? And how long you been a blacksmith? God, since God.
Since God,
He's been-
before Earth.
We're
He
gonna
made
get
a
hit
nice-
by lightning.
Woke him up.
Yeah, he made a dagger for Jesus, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Jesus.
I love it.
Which
man.
is up the
Untold,
mountain.
I made the spirit of destiny that killed Jesus.
Wow, that shit got heavy.
That did get
Okay, here's your knife, sir. Step away. So no, that was it was really wild. And again, the cool part of this whole thing is you have such a collective gathering of researchers, right?
Mhm.
They're all in different positions. It's almost like a bullseye setup where you have the inner ring, outer ring, further ring, and then they all came together to have that conversation, right? Nobody was like, "Oh, I heard chatter. I'm not telling anybody. It's mine." You know, we sat there and had a meeting of the minds after. It was like, "Hey, wait." We went over everything, and it all came together where all the same evidence pointed in each person's direction. It was the same thing that we were experiencing in different locations. And then it brought us almost together because when we were over here on the circle, the vocalizations were opposite side of the circle and up, right? So it's almost like these two were like the juvies, and they were their job was to get these idiots out of the woods because Dad was having a tough time wrangling the other one that ran off to the right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we all kind of came together and paid attention to that vocals, and who knows what happened back there after.
Just imagine
But
that's
all the
that's the
evidence
animal in a big depends running through the woods, and Daddy's going, "Get over here."
No, I want to go play.
Oh, I thought you said an animal. I thought you meant
Right? I'm talking about this animal
Oh,
right here.
yeah.
Hey,
Is that what you whispered?
In my van.
In my
In
van.
my animal control van.
All right, yeah, he has an animal control van, guys. Relax,
Yeah.
because that didn't sound good at all. He's like, "Get in my van. I got candy and a puppy."
Oh, and I have beer and Family Guy on DVD.
What about
I'm gonna hang out with this guy. He's
VHS?
got beer.
Yeah. Family Guy on DVD.
Family Guy
Talk about
DVD.
old.
But
I think a DVD was around when what's his name? Jesus is killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I
Nobody watches
find
that.
fascinating, Matt, is that Matt grabbed a boulder and he's attempted, throw in the woods. I'm like, dude, I don't think it's a great idea, but I understood why you did what you did.
Get him to react.
Is it was you didn't even throw it
I
that
didn't-
far.
It wasn't the point of trying to hit.
He's not very
No.
athletic.
It was like, can you copy?
Yes.
Oh.
Is what I was
You wanted it to
thinking.
come back out?
Yep.
Because
Yeah, you
that
crazy.
would have been absolute confirmation because only something with hands
You pick it up and throw it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've been hit with
instead of
acorns.
cars being my truck's being flipped over.
Yeah,
He's
right.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
You know, animals in the woods yelling, "Get them off me."
Get off me. One thing I do want to mention, I'm going to back up a little bit. Before the footprints that we saw,
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember this. You did a whoop.
Yep.
And then seconds after that, whoop from the distance. Then we kept walking, and then we saw I was on the right, you were on the left, and I'm not sure if I was with Wojo or no, I was with Mike Tinsley. But one of them, you said, "Get over here. I see something on the dust pile." So we go over there, and there's freaking prints everywhere. At least like maybe a half a dozen.
There's probably a dozen of them.
Yeah.
And they're real small.
And they were little. You could see the toes, and we asked him, like, could there be kids back here?
You want to take a picture of all of us? Sorry, guys, I'm almost famous. They need a picture of me.
Oh.
Should I do? Are we wearing pants? Oh,
Oh,
no pants.
well-
Definitely in.
No
We'll
wonder why
finish
it's
this
cold
off.
out here.
We'll finish
Oh,
this.
hey!
Shirts and skins.
We'll just finish this off, and we'll be right up there.
Mm.
But after that, then I saw that big print,
Right.
and it was just really crazy how after the whoop,
Yeah.
and then we
a
saw
lot of
that
activity going on.
all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what led us to go out there and investigate last night,
Yeah,
which only further confirmed what we were seeing even.
Yeah.
And what we don't know if those are exactly Bigfoot prints, but if you start putting these pieces of evidence together, you got some validity to it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're going back out tonight, by the way. And
Yep.
I had a little signal last night, so I think we're going to go on YouTube Live.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, on Banter with Richie B, live on YouTube
But
tonight.
also too on that big print, how I explained how that dirt is how it's caked on, like
Yeah.
it just penetrated that
yeah, some of it slid down the wall, and it was fresh brown
Yep.
on top of the
Yep.
wet, dark dirt. That's the one thing that caught my eye. It wasn't the total shape of it. It was the actual fresh dirt.
Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions before we go get our pictures taken?
Yeah.
Because we're almost somebody. D-Hoot, I made a new channel, so Richie will be able to see me next time.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Yeah, because I can't see her comments on my restream from her YouTube.
Yeah.
She's the only one.
do
She's
you?
a moderator
LOL,
and a
Sparky
producer
helped
on
me
my
big
show.
time. Awesome, man. That was an awesome conversation. I can't wait to go bigfooting again because I'm going back to Florida tomorrow.
Right.
So we got to definitely catch something tonight.
Oh, we're gonna catch something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna make
Or
out.
it's
We're gonna
not
make out or
rabies.
something. We're gonna do some.
Not
we're,
get
gonna,
rid-
we're gonna do some kissing.
No
make
pink
you
eye,
have
no pink eye.
Make sure you bring your can of Pepsi too. You know?
Wait, that's my can of Pepsi. He brought 8 of them. He brought 8 of them and put them in his gullet, and I got nothing.
Yeah, we had a 12 pack and it was gone. It was all animal.
Animal drank
It
it all.
wasn't all in I had a couple.
Guy was double fisted with Pepsi, slapping kids.
Early in the morning. Roger, do you have any Pepsi? I can't have any more coffee or I'll blow up.
Yeah. But I can have some more Pepsi. Do you got any Pepsi?
Ew, this Pepsi makes my gullet tickle.
Richie, do you have any straws?
Yes, I got some straws.
I got crazy straws.
How are you?
Oh man.
We love you all. Thank you for attending this effery.
We will see you later and
Keep climbing.
keep climbing.
Don't say that's mine. It's
Oh,
keep
yeah.
rising.
Keep rising.
Boom. Animal, give the flex. Let's go.
Oh, animal ruined it.
Animal ruined it. You suck. You suck, dude.